HLR News, brought to you by Innocent Bystander Reseaech and Hang Loose Recluse Ad Libs. January 21st, 2024. German farmers still protest. As farmers block German cities with tractors, Australian mainstream media, along with majority of other world mainstream media organisations, are still failing to report on what is actually happening in Germany. Farmers block cities with their tractors, and of course, the retaliation to the German government removing diesel and tractor subsidies from farmers, while the mainstream media worldwide remains significantly silent on this important matter as shopping centres are blocked and their food is not getting into the German supermarkets. It's obvious by now that mainstream media works for the governments of the world and remains silent as instructed by globalist organisations who own and control the mainstream media. We can just imagine the corporate memos and bulletins in the media offices worldwide now in emails. Attention all mainstream media journalists. Do not report on the German farmer protests at all or you will be sacked. Thank you. Okay, now to real news. Let's go. Well, that was real news. Let's go to the next news. In this next story, cable companies in USA claim adding cancel button to website would cost $100 million. The best customers are the ones who keep paying whilst not using the service. Thank you. In Freedom Media WA news, Lindsay says, due to the significant changes to the WA Electoral Act brought on by the WA Labor government, rule changes mean they will affect the 2025 state election. Thank you. One of the key electoral reforms now required political parties to register 1 year before a state election. Previously, a party could register 1 month before a state election. This is a big change. When combined with the old school requirement of party members required to physically sign a membership form, which is a backward step with modern day technology. The clock is ticking. Thank you. In a few weeks, the window of opportunity will slam shut. Failure to meet the deadline with the new requirements will mean Community First Party will not be able to contest the March 2025 WA state election. Follow Freedom Media WA on the usual platforms for important updates. Thank you. Michael Obama is said to be a potential runner in the upcoming selection. Oops, or should we say Michelle Obama? Oops, sorry, that was a biological error. Thank you. In ABC News actually doing its job, the Optus outage parliamentary inquiry resumes next week in an effort to discover that legislated O calls must be able to be made, which were not. Let's see if there is a penalty for the failure, or even it is in the legislation that the ABC forgot to mention or raise as a concern. Thank you. In other groundbreaking ABC news, the trial of the reduced liquor trading hours in Darwin by pushing back the opening hours is to end after 6 weeks on Australia Day. It has been seen as a massive failure as it led to instances of alcohol abuse in licensed venues. I know, I'm surprised too. Thank you. President Trump continues to smash the polls. Latest in New Hampshire has him on 72% with Haley and DeSantis on 9% each. In South Carolina, he leads 64-25-8. Thank you. Hackers stole ancestry data on 6.9 million people, 23andMe confirmed last month. The company blamed the data breach on the people reusing passwords. Thank you. Researchers found a privacy vulnerability in ChatGPT that highlights the risks of large language models. It has since been patched. By asking ChatGPT to repeat the word poem forever, it eventually trailed off and started listing names, email addresses, and phone numbers. Thank you. What a glitch. Cloning primates is complicated. In most attempts, embryos and newborns die, but researchers in China have said they've cloned a rhesus monkey that's doing well. Thank you. Porn Star's frontman Rick Harrison's son Adam has reportedly died of an overdose. He was 39. TMZ reported Friday that a rep for the History Channel star claimed that the Harrison family learned on Friday that Adam had died of an overdose. Thank you. Well, that's not nice news. I shouldn't be trying to be funny there, but you know what I'm saying. It's just news to me. I'm numb, desensitized to it. Don't know how the mainstream media news reporters can read all the crap they read out, that's for sure. Keep a straight face. Anyway, back to the news. A grand jury in New Mexico has charged actor Alec Baldwin over the death of cinematographer Halyna Hutchins. That's, of course, in relation to the gun that he had on a film set, which actually killed the movie set producer, I think she was. Anyway, next news. Thank you. Calls to ban Israel from this year's Eurovision Song Contest in Malmo. Sweden are growing louder amid high casualties reported on its war against Hamas in Gaza. Thank you. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he has informed the United States that he is opposed to the establishment of a Palestinian state as part of any post-war scenario. Thank you. Argentinian authorities deported the wife and children of Ecuadorian drug trafficker Jose Aldolfo Macios, more commonly known as Fito. Thank you. That was a tongue twister. Beijing has introduced a rating system for China's version of TikTok, Douyin, D-O-U-Y-I-N, which will penalize users who stream content deemed to violate a strict moral code. Thank you. Pay to play. David McBride pleaded guilty to 3 of his 5 charges after cutting a deal with the prosecutors to end his trial. David McBride didn't have much choice but to plead guilty given the federal government's failure to protect whistleblowers, and the court whittled away his defense over the last few days. The classified documents led to a series of reports alleging Australian Special Forces troops committed war crimes in Afghanistan. A later inquiry uncovered credible information. At smh.com.au, link has been provided, but we can't say it, it's too much. So 20 of 23 incidents of potential war crimes which involved the killing of 39 Afghans and cruel treatment of 2 more between 2005 and 2016. No, thank you. Brazilian gospel singer Pedro Henrique, 30, collapses and dies during a live performance. He's leaving behind a wife and a newborn daughter. No, thank you. Homeless man sitting on the street in Swansea is told he has 20 minutes to leave the city centre. He's then followed by the policeman, arrested 5 minutes, 26 seconds later, and thrown to the ground. No, thank you. Mercedes-Benz sells all 80 showrooms, including its Stuttgart branch. Thank you. In an effort to stay relevant, Thomas Mayo has called on no voters to demand an end to political games that entrench Aboriginal disadvantage following the crushing referendum defeat of the Indigenous voice to Parliament. Mr Mayo, who was perhaps the highest profile leader of the Yes 23 campaign, told Daily Mail Australia on Wednesday that he accepted the referendum was history, but progress still had to be made on closing the gap between Indigenous and non-Indigenous welfare measures. Winky face. Thank you. Ford finally has admitted faults with its EcoBoost engine units. The 3-cylinder 1-litre engines have an internal wet timing belt with 150,000 kilometre life. Warranty is for 60,000 kilometres, but most failed well before that. No, thank you. And another no thank you. Thousands of people took to the streets of Israel calling for the return of hostages held in Gaza and early elections to oust Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. That's right, this has been the English Recluse News for the 21st of January 2024, brought to you by Innocent Bystander Research and English Recluse Ad Libs. Thank you. This has been another English Recluse production. Or should it be, no, thank you.